What is up, guys? It is, well, what is it?
Tune in Tuesday.
Tune in Tuesday. We've officially gone way back in time to the Tune In Tuesdays, which was years ago that we used to do that. But luckily, I mean, we've had like 3 Tuesdays in a row, now that I'm thinking about it, that the weather has been just fantastic enough to do the live or the Tune In Tuesday outside. Now, we're outside of our house now. We went for the walk and then we needed to get some water and eat and stuff real quick before we got on the...
Almost didn't come on.
Oh, man.
It's getting close to bedtime.
It's close to bedtime.
But we have to get our Tune In Tuesday.
Tune In Tuesday. And we got a lot to talk about.
We do. How was the week? It was a good week.
It was a solid week.
Sunday.
Yeah.
And, got to just celebrate Jesus. And it's always the best thing. So that was good.
That was good. We went to Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Went to Nebraska Furniture Mart.
And that can be a whole ordeal if you've ever gone to a Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Here's something about Nebraska Furniture Mart. I actually love it there. But when you need the help, when you don't need help, there's 5 people that are like, do you need help? But then when you need help, I can't find anybody. It happens every time. But I actually do love Nebraska.
It's so funny because I think like multiple times someone came up to us and they're very good at, do you need help, whatnot. And at the moment we were like, no. And then like 4 minutes later, I'm like, oh, we need help now. And then we can't find them. They're gone.
There.
They're on to the next crew. So.
But then we found then the guy came and helped us.
He came and helped us.
Yeah.
And so we needed to get a few things, and one of the things we needed to get, and it was insanely. Yeah, you know.
You know what I'm saying?
And one of the things we needed to get was like a tiny little accent table. And I tell you what, there may not be anything more challenging than to find an accent table. And so we were in Nebraska Furniture Mart, and I'm like, well, where are the accent tables? And he goes, man, I'm going to be real with you. There's no rhyme or reason. They're all over the place. They're scattered everywhere. And so then, you're in there, and I think it's strategic. You're in there for like an hour or 2 hours.
And we still couldn't find it. Well, we found some chairs.
We got the chairs. We couldn't find the table, and I ended up going somewhere else the next day because I was still thinking about that little table that we needed. So, long story short. Anyways, that was our weekend. Very eventful. But anyways, long story short, we want to dive in tonight and really talk about some much more important things than Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Well, yeah, and so I think so last night we did a little Soul Fit community meetup. So every month we've been having these meetups, which are, anybody is welcome to come to. They have been absolutely incredible, just people sharing really inspiring stories about the challenges that they've gone through. And last night Frank and Diane Clausen were our special guests, and just the chats and conversations. I think one of the most powerful things, we've always been storytellers. If you've followed us for, we love sharing stories, whether we share a lot of stories of our lives, but B,
hey, that B's got work to do.
But okay, he's gone. And we like to share stories from our lives, but we also love sharing other people's stories. And I think that it's so valuable, because when you may have a certain idea of somebody's life, or you get a perception of what you think they are from social media, and then when you hear people's stories and you understand that everybody has gone through something, it's such a powerful thing. It's just like when you know someone's story and the challenges that they've gone through, it just helps you to see people in such different ways and with a different lens, and with more they're inspiring. You can have more compassion. You can just understand and connect with people on a different level. It's why we love sharing stories, is because of the connection that it brings, and the community that it helps to build when people can, because there's always a common thread, because we've all gone through stuff. it just looks different, but the feelings and the hard things, the emotions that we go through, it's also similar. So it really connects us when you understand the hard stuff. So anyway, it was such a great conversation with them last night. And I was like, some of the stuff they shared, I was like, I didn't even know this stuff of you. And so it just got us to just thinking of how powerful that is, the ability to have safe spaces where you can share your story. And we were talking, we had a Zoom call today, and we were talking about it with some people, and it was like, so many people don't have a space to be able to share and to be able to open up and share the things that they've gone through. And it's really actually a healing thing to be able to have other people carry your burden with you, that aren't trying to fix something, but that are just there to hold the story with you, to hear the story, and to be like, wow, that was really a hard thing that you went through.
Yeah, and I to go even deeper, I'm thinking about right now, like I built a group with some of my closer friends, all guys, and really it's created a space where we can lay some stuff out and pray for one another, and a safe place and a community. But the more people that we talk to over the years, and especially recently, it's like there is a lot of people that just don't have community, or the community that they're a part of is not the most positive community for them, as they're going into their own transformations. They're saying, hey, I want more out of life. I want to get healthier. I want to get more fit. I want a solid relationship. I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better husband, whatever that may be. And they're not in the right circles. They're not in the right communities, or they don't have anyone. They're going through depression, anxiety, whatnot, and they go into more of like an isolated state. And I'll tell you, so much of healing, I went through my own healing journey, and I'll tell you, community was huge. Being able to get vulnerable and share was huge. It was such a pivotal piece of getting past certain chapters that I needed to get through, and so to have those safe places with people that you can trust, people that you love, people that you can share with, and they can share with you. It really creates an environment that is healing and really what we all deserve and need.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking was when you don't have space to share and to and it doesn't mean like we go into the story and we're like, and we stay stuck down in the grief of the things that we've gone through. This is kind of some of the stuff that we learned at the Freedom Academy that we went to, and that Micah came to the level 1, and I've gone through 1 and 2, and I'm actually going to go to levels 3 and 4 this year too. But one of the things that we've learned through there is just when you don't have that space to grieve things, it's such a weight and it's a burden that you carry with you. Some people for their entire lives, because one thing I learned, so this is, I don't know if we've probably haven't actually told people this because we haven't done many lives. So when we did the Freedom Academy, I went up and did the level 2, and I posted a little bit about it. I think I posted a picture of it. That was back in November. And Mike has been on this healing journey for 7 years. He was on a really intense, intentional, digging deep healing journey, and for a lot of that, I've been the one holding, I'm the one that's here and holding a lot of that, holding the space for him, holding the story with him, and I've always had felt like I've done a lot of my own work, and done a lot of healing work myself, and I was like, I'm good, I got this, we got the Lord, and we're good. So we went to this thing, and it was really funny because Carrie Garcia, who runs the thing, she's like looking at Micah, and we shared a little bit of the story, and she's like, man, you have done such great work, like you've come so far. And then she looks at me and she's like, you've got work to do. And I was like, oh.
So I was like, yeah, I told you.
And I was like, oh my goodness, like and I'm like people pleaser, so I'm just like, I haven't done like, what's going on? And she really read me well, and she saw things in me that that she really pulled out of me. And so when I went up and did that work, it was really hard, because what I realized is I am extremely resilient, but what I have what I've done a lot of my life is whenever there's been something hard or bad or whatever, I'm like, that happened, yeah, I'm fine. That happened, yeah, I'm fine. That happened, yeah, I'm fine. And I had never actually gone in and done the grieving and being able, because I'm like, I don't feel comfortable down there. Like, I don't feel comfortable in that space. I don't want to go down into that space and sit in that. Like, that's not going to feel good. And it doesn't feel good, but it also, if you skip that part, you are missing a big part of healing. And so that mourning and that grieving is a part of healing. And it's even, in one of the Sermon on the Mount, what Jesus says is like, one of the things he says is like, blessed are those who mourn or grieve, for they shall be comforted. So it is actually, to be able to grieve is how we can then receive comfort from the Lord. And another thing is, like, that's taught a lot, is like, we're hurt by people, we're hurt in community, so we have to heal in community too. So there's the time with the Lord, the time with Jesus, but then there's also community coming, and having community that doesn't try to fix it.
Yeah.
That was a really key thing that we've learned just recently in this past year, just with the trauma training and stuff. It's not about coming in and trying to be like, okay, let's fix this. It's holding the space and holding it with them, and saying, and being able to say, yeah, that is really hard, and I'm so sorry that you went through that. And then there's a space, you don't stay down in there, but then you come up out of it. But that grieving and somebody else holding it and saying, yes, what you went through was really hard. A lot of times people are like, well, this person's stuff was harder than my stuff, and so I don't even need to talk about my stuff because everybody else's stuff is harder than my stuff. Your story's more drama than mine. And one thing we've learned is like how your things that you've gone through impact you. Some people, yeah, it may be a higher level of extreme, but it doesn't mean that hurt and that pain doesn't hit you hard. Rachel, that's so good. Yeah, you know this firsthand too.
Mm-hmm.
As a first responder, we were taught to be like, yep, I'm fine, and move on to the next.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the PTSD, and how that you didn't get the chance to go in and grieve that. I think it's a real problem that a lot of people face, of holding that in, and how it manifests in other ways, with your health, with your relationships, with anger, with pain. So that it's not easy work, and it is uncomfortable, but man, when I even went and did and I'm going to go do more of that work this year too, but when I actually went and did that, and when Mike did it, it was like the release of like, okay, now I can actually move forward from this. And it's such the level of healing, I was like, and it was something I didn't even know. It was like a hardness, a shell that I had that I didn't even know that I had. And I was like, one of the other ladies there, she was like, you're like this turtle, and you're like, have your shell, and you're like, oop, I don't know if it's safe. Can I come out? And I was like, yeah, yep, that's me. So anyway, I guess all of that to say is, if you guys are thinking of yourselves, it's like, are there places that you know, or maybe you don't even know? Because sometimes I think that we go around holding these things and we don't even realize it, just like I did. People often say other people went through it, it's going to be fine. Yeah, that's right. And then that's good, Jasmine. And then don't actually go in and do the work themselves, and grieve themselves. And again, I want to emphasize, it's not going in and getting stuck in the grief and staying there, because that's not a healthy place to be either. So it's a process. And at Freedom Academy that she talks about, it's like Jesus kind of gives us an example. It's like Jesus died, he didn't just die and then it was resurrection. It was died, he went into the grave. He was in the grave, and that's the grieving. But then there was resurrection. And so if you ever go to Freedom Academy, that's the whole flow of everything. It's the death, it's the burial, and the grave, and then it's resurrection day. So we're not staying down there, but we got to go in there. It's so powerful. So, anyway, do you have some stuff to say?
I wanted to, let's see.
Dwayne had a comment that I didn't get
Courtney,
to.
hi. I saw Courtney.
Cam, hi,
and then
Paul, hi, Paul.
let me see. This is not scrolling up.
Well, Dwayne had a comment and I didn't get to read what it was.
He was talking about community and the importance of community.
Community of support. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go.
Community of support is so important, Fit Family. Moreover, faith, community, and fellowship is something you can't explain. You have to experience it in person.
Yeah.
It's so true. So, thinking about the last 7-8 years of my life, I did a lot of stuff very untraditional in the way that I went through my own healing. I didn't go through a counselor. It was really kind of an untraditional way, but it was the Lord also telling me I needed to go that way. But there's like stages in trauma healing. And there's forgiveness, there's, opening up, sharing the story. There's multiple phases in it. And I recall, when I started sharing it in small groups, it was intimate. I remember sharing with people that I was really close with, and oh my gosh, every single time I was like getting so emotional. And then over time, it became something that was like, the more I got out, it was like the more of that was inside of me was able to be released, and in a very productive way. Not turning to negative things and whatnot. I was doing it in a very productive way, and then being able to like share it the way that I did publicly for the first time on stage. Like it really, like there was a level of freedom that was really, insane with that. What I'll tell you guys is, those of you that are challenged with still trying to get through trauma from the past, is there's not a time limit on your healing. Like everybody's journey is slightly different. The way that I went through my path was unique for me. The way that you go through your own path will be unique for you. I think there's a lot of general guidelines that can help everyone, but your path will look slightly different due to the different traumas that you may have went through, the level and experience. One other thing I wanted to mention, so every time I tell my story and then I'm talking to men afterwards, one of their very first reactions is, oh dude, but I didn't go through anything like you did. Like, dude, and I'm really quick to diffuse that, because trauma is trauma, right? Like, yes, there's different layers, there's severity of trauma, length of trauma time, there's a lot that goes into it. But as a human, we're still, if something is still keeping us in bondage from years ago, then it's something that we need to deal with, something that we need to work through, and healing that we need to get. And so I just encourage, especially my fellas, like it is so hard for men to talk. And it's going to be, it's going to be something that we're going to be very, very vocal with, about being able to get vulnerable and being able to get some of that stuff out so that you can be everything you need to be for your family and for your loved ones and your relationship with Christ. All of those things come into play. And if you're holding on to that stuff, it's just a weight that you weren't meant to carry.
Yeah, Courtney, that's good. A lot of things are easier said than done. Yeah, because most people don't know how to sit with and it is uncomfortable. And that's the other thing, like the uncomfortableness. It's also uncomfortable if we don't go through the healing, So it's like to go into that, and then also with understanding. You're not going to have to stay there, but it is important to go into the discomfort a little bit. It's a big part of healing. And when someone shares, the other part of that is when you're trying to heal in community, and this is just good for. What I was reading what Mark was saying. Hurt, loss, and trauma.
Yeah, I'll get on that here in a minute. Keep going.
when someone is sharing something with you, a lot of times our nature is we want to pull them out of it quickly. Someone starts sharing something that's hard and you want to pull the tissues out and hand them the tissue so that or you want to, say something encouraging in that moment. And what we've learned is the best thing to do in that moment is actually not hand the tissue and not try to disrupt them from being able to go in and feel it, but to just be with them and hold it with them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard because that means we have to be comfortable with sitting in it. And a lot of people if have not gone through their own healing and so can't just sit and hold it with you. And so then you learn that, and then you see it everywhere of like someone starts to get emotional and they're sharing something, someone else is immediately, here's the tissue. And that's not even like you want to help. But in that moment, the helping is actually better, and the holding is actually how you help in that moment. It's not trying to pull them out of it. Like, let them go there and let them feel it.
You got to let all the water drain out of the tub, right? And so when you're coming because you're compassionate to try to support them in that moment, you're putting the plunger back, you're putting the little stopper back on, right? And they're trying to breathe again, and to breathe again is allowing all that water to run out of the tub. And so they need to release that. And your entire goal is just holding that with them. And it's a really powerful thing because as coaches, in our space, our first thing is solution. What is solution? Okay, this is what's going on. Here's the solution to it. Here's what we need to eat. Here's what we need to train. Here's the mindset we need to do. Trauma work is very different from that. And so, when I was going through my own journey like that, you end up learning and going, I've been doing this wrong because all I'm trying to do is find a solution and run through a brick wall over and over and over again. When what I needed to really do is I needed to get back into the swamp and crawl through that for a while. As crazy as that is, it sounds scary, and it kind of is. And I remember just being like overly emotional a lot, but I allowed myself to cry when I needed to cry. I'd get with the Lord, I'd talk to Diana, my close friends knew what was going on, but I still had to show up and be everything that I needed to be for my clients and my friends and the commitments that I had. So that balance can be really tricky. And this is why we're so straightforward when it comes to when you're going through trauma healing. Number one, you have to have a safe environment. Number two, you can't let stuff in that is negative controllably. And this is why we talk about alcohol, we talk about drugs, and anything that is going to prevent you from healing needs to be eliminated from your life. When you're going through and you're like, dude, I'm ready to do this work, I'm ready to do the trauma, and sometimes it's the people in your life that you got to at least put some boundaries around. And Maggie, you said sometimes I just want someone to sit with me and to be able to talk, and it's crucial. All we need is one person. You said, I get uncomfortable, the fear of being ridiculed or judged. That's a normal, human reaction and feeling and thought. But what I'll tell you is, like, all it takes is one person, and sometimes that person is a complete stranger. Yeah. Sometimes God brings someone in your life that you don't even know, and they're there for a reason or a small season to just be that person who can hold that with you. So don't be scared to open up if you're feeling that God has brought someone in your life to be able to share through stuff, because it's a part of your healing.
Yeah. Hi, Michelle.
Michelle.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch base because Mark had a really good one, and I don't want to lose this one. Hurt, loss, trauma can knock you down for decades, which is 23 years. They're mad, depressed, lost, anxiety, all the stuff that comes from that, from the Lord, with no relationship. All that is, it's so powerful, Mark, and men specifically. And I am separating men from women at this particular moment, because with trauma, we know that there is a difference. With some societal stigmas, resources, there's not as many resources for men, and just in general, it's hard for us to just express because it feels like weakness. It's like the devil's grip on us to not be able to share. And then when you realize and you get on the other end of it where you're healed, you're like, oh my gosh, I have a superpower now because I've got to this other side. And it's really kind of, it shifted the whole way I look at things. And really kind of something that I, with my close men that are in my life, I challenge them with, and opening them up, because you see healing every single time it happens.
Yeah, and I think that's Courtney, you found your identity. We lose so much, like when the trauma wounds haven't been healed, it shows up in so many ways, and that's one, a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-value, the list could go on, because when we go through these hard things, our brain has to figure out ways of keeping us safe, and so it will do whatever it can do to help us feel normal, to help us feel comfortable, to help us feel like we belong. And a lot of times that can show up in unhealthy things of like, I'm not worthy, and this is where I have to stay. So it's really hard work. One thing I recognized that I did was and I think a lot of people do this when you hear them talk about, oh, my story's not as bad, is you minimize the hurt. And when I went and did my work last fall, that was one thing, like when I shared the story that I shared, and then I looked around the room at the faces of the people, and they're looking at me and they're like, that sounds like a horror story. And I was like, oh, because in my mind, to protect myself, it was minimizing this. This isn't a big deal, so we can move on. And seeing the look on their faces, it hit like I was like a mess. I was sobbing, but I'd never done that before. I'd never grieved it because I had minimized it and created a wall to protect myself, and then just never had grieved it. So there was just this hardness that I was still stuck in.
I remember being here, and I was waiting for updates, because I'm obviously like, how is Diana doing? I knew she was diving into some deep stuff, and she posted a picture on Facebook, and she looked very tired and exhausted, but I saw something that was much deeper. What I saw in that picture, because I'm with her all the time, I saw a release. I saw that was a lot, but I got a lot out, and that's what I saw in that face, where a lot of people that may not know that face would be like, oh man, you look so sleepy. Well, you are tired, because when you're diving into that stuff, it's very, very heavy. But it was a really beautiful picture to me, because it represented taking action and doing the work that is necessary for healing. And trauma work, it takes work. It takes time. It takes work. It takes being intentional. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes sometimes in a community. It takes eliminating negatives from your life. There's a lot there, but so many people are living with just decades of pain and depression and now addictions, and we really want to pour into people's lives and be able to help them get out of that grip. Paula, real quick. Paula's my aunt. I love Paula. Love you, Paula.
And Mark, I was reading yours. That's so good that you've been on that healing journey. And I think it's so important for the men especially. And I think one thing we won't stay on here too much longer because I got to go eat. But a lot of people do not have safe community. You may have community, but not community that you trust to hold your story. We see this repeatedly. People that, you may have friendships, but to really get raw and real and let people in on the things that are the hurts. And for some people, it's the things that maybe were done to them. And then for some people that we've had to hold the story, it's things that they've done, that they feel so much shame that they did these things. That needs to be held too. And to be able to move through that shame. So it's what we're trying to build. We wanted to share this stuff of it's really a hard direction that you're going to see us going into even more. Like you see us doing it at the retreats, and it's so healing, and we love it. It's to see people have that space to be able to take healing steps like that. It's really powerful. We love being a part of it, and Yeah, so that's what we're doing. And you guys have heard us talking about Made for More, our retreat that's coming up. And so we're cutting off a registration on Sunday for it, but we have a couple spots that a couple more people can join us. So it is, if you are looking for amazing, safe community, and plus you want to work out, plus you want to hang out with us, then we would just invite you to join us. And when we say Made for More, the more, I think, part of that comes through healing and being able to step more fully into what your purposes are, and what freedom, stepping into more freedom. And there's so much freedom going through that healing process.
The retreats are very healing. They're very fun. You know, it's faith infused with fitness. But what I'll tell you, and what we hear from Frank was on here, anyone that's gone to the retreats, one of the biggest feedbacks that we get is the community is just so fantastic. And we've kind of mentioned this, but you come to a retreat, and Jason Leclerc just got on, and he can attest to what I'm about to say. But like, you come to a retreat, and what happens is you just are like, oh my gosh, like, all these people, is this real? Is this real life? All these people are together and lifting you up. And then all of a sudden this community becomes like this amazing family that goes much further than just the period of time that you're with them for those 5 days and 4 nights. It continues on for years. And you have these people that you spent this really intimate time with, that you shared really deep things with, that you trust, that were total strangers the day before. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I have lifetime friends, and these people like genuinely love me. And that to me is one of the most powerful parts about the retreat.
Yeah, and Rachel, the Voices in the Villa changed my life.
Yep.
And we've seen that every single time that we've had Voices in the Villa. There has been literal life-changing moments that have happened every single year that we've had it.
Yep.
Like really powerful, life-changing, life-saving moments that have happened. And it's been really beautiful. So it's an honor for us to create those spaces. Yeah, and the friendships. Yeah, it's just powerful. It's powerful community. We are magnets for awesome people. We are awesome people magnets. And so when you come and hang out with us, there's going to be awesome people. And it just happens every time. It's just like
Jason came solo.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first saw him at this last retreat in Mexico last year, and he had walked in, and it was close to beautiful resort. And I saw him, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I come running up to him, and he just has his biggest smile ever. And he's feeling uncomfortable. You're kind of uncomfortable because you're like, I don't know a lot of these people. And me and Jason had met one other time before that. And so like, then all of a sudden we kind of just like dive right into the deep end of the pool in a way that is so powerful that everybody is like, you leave Voices of Villa and you're like, you guys are all my friends forever.
Yeah,
and you're crying, and then we go eat good food, and then it's just this amazing journey of just developing new habits and new friendships. This fire that's in you, and this purpose that's in you of leaving and going, I'm gonna totally quit my job and start a new job. And we saw that multiple times. We saw lives saved. We saw lives changed. We saw marriages healed. We saw it's unbelievable. It really is. And to experience it firsthand, and we get to kind of sit back and just go, whoa. This is powerful, and we're crying half the time too, so we're a part of all of it.
Yeah, we love it. It's awesome. So, anyway, it's almost our bedtime.
Oh man.
7:30.
We're watching. We're a little bit behind. We're watching The Chosen, so we're doing like maybe one a night at this point. But yeah,
we're on like season 3.
Yeah, he's about to go. He's about to go do a miracle.
Yep.
So
we got
ready for that episode.
But thank you guys for tuning in and just joining in the conversation, and it's really fun actually to get on here and just be able to connect with you guys and hear from you, and we appreciate that. And yeah, so Sunday, cutoff day. If you guys want, if there's any of you that you're on the edge of coming on this retreat with us, we would love to have you. And just, if you're looking for a community, that's really powerful and awesome. And we say that, but it's like, it's actually true. There's really good humans out there, and they just come to us, just like drawn to us. So
God brings them to us.
God brings them to us.
Amen.
All right.
All right, guys. We love you.
Guys.
We'll see you soon.
See ya.
All right, guys.